So, the Indiana Fever roster is officially locked in. It's done. Completely finalized. Yeah, I know I'm late into this. I was busy watching Leeds United take care of Wolves today and basically do what should have secured promotion back to Premier League. Thankfully. But anyway, let's get into this. And look, I'm just going to be straight up here. I really don't love the fact that the Fever have the smallest training camp roster in the league, the fewest total players, and they've already locked in multiple guaranteed spots. Last year, at least, there was some real competition. It felt like 4 players were battling for that final spot. We basically knew the core 10, but then you had names like KK, Bree Hall, Jalen Brown, Jillian Lane, and Ivani Jip all fighting for that last place that Michaela Timpson eventually took. Now, there are 0 spots up for grabs. Literally none. And even the developmental spots are already decided. It's basically just Impat and Jessica Timmons locked into those roles. Because at this point, if they wanted to give someone like KK a developmental deal, they'd have to cut her first. Same goes for Megan McConnell, Kiana Trailer. They'd have to release them just to re-sign them differently. That's not happening. So realistically, it's just Ian Bisat and Jessica Timmons. And honestly, that's frustrating. Because I look at Jessica Timmons, she's a 5 feet 8 inches scoring guard, and I just don't see a scenario where she becomes a meaningful piece for this team. So why not take someone like Yarden Garcon or Hannah Stolka? Why not stash a pick? Why not go get size? Why pass on someone like Kyla Loker? Where's the size on this roster? And structurally, this is where it really gets messy. Because it's basically impossible now for someone like Megan McConnell or Kiana Trailer to realistically make this team. Even if Megan McConnell absolutely dominates camp, another team will just scoop her up. That's the issue. Right now, there are 4 players who aren't even really competing for Fever spots. They're auditioning for the rest of the league. Kiana Trailer, Megan McConnell, Jessica Timmons, and Justine Bate. They're trying out for other teams more than they are for Indiana. Also, quick correction. Yeah, I've been spelling Justine Bates' name wrong this whole time. That's on me. My bad there. But moving on, when you actually look at the roster, there's a lot to like. You got Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston all back. That's your core. And the big question is whether Stephanie White can build a system that actually maximizes all 3 at the same time. And if I'm being honest, I don't have full confidence yet. But at the same time, she deserves a Real shot, a full season to figure it out. Because last year, in the limited games where Clark, Mitchell, and Boston all played together, I don't think we ever saw all 3 click in the same game. We saw flashes, Kelsey and Aaliyah going off, Caitlin and Aaliyah dominating, Caitlin and Kelsey cooking, but never all 3 together. And that's the challenge. Now, to be fair, context matters. Caitlin Clark was clearly dealing with injuries at times, and Kelsey Mitchell historically starts season slow. It's basically a running joke at this point. Kelsey Mitchell is not the same player you get later in the year. She ramps up over time. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston, she's probably going to be the best player on this team early in the season. She's consistent, durable, and already has chemistry with Clark in that pick and roll. As for the rest of the roster, it's not that I dislike the players individually. I actually don't mind Ty Harris, Christy Wallace, or even someone like Raven Johnson. The issue is having too many of the same type of player. You don't need multiple undersized guards. That's just not how you build a balanced roster. At some point, you run out of roles. Like, what exactly is a rotation here? At this stage, someone like Christy Wallace ends up being a backup to a backup. And when you look at last year, those final roster spots were filled by players like Sydney Colson and Brianna Turner. 1 guard, 1 big, flexible, situational pieces. This year, you could end up with both end-of-bench spots being guards. That's a problem, because now players like Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, who should naturally play the 3, might be forced into playing bigger roles positionally, even sliding up to the 4 at times. And that's not ideal. One move I do really like, though, is bringing in Alyssa Smith. Sorry, not Smith. I mean Maisha Hines-Allen. That's a really solid pickup. She brings mobility, versatility, and experience. And here's something interesting. While top-tier stars might not take pay cuts to join Indiana, it does feel like this team is becoming a landing spot for players looking to rebuild their value. We saw that with Natasha Howard. Her reputation had taken a hit before coming to Indiana, but she got an opportunity and got paid. Same situation with Hines Allen. She's betting on herself here. She's probably thinking, if I have even a decent season in this system, I can cash in again next year. Because she's still in her prime. And in a league where forwards are always in demand, that matters. And even in a worst-case scenario, players don't just disappear from the league after playing for Indiana. That's just not how it works. But again, it comes back to this. What's the point of having players like Kiana Traylor, Megan McConnell, or Jessica Timmons in this setup if there's no real pathway for them? Overall, though, the roster is what it is now. It's complete. And where do they stand? I'd say they're probably third or fourth contenders at best. This feels like a team that could actually be better in the playoffs than in the regular season. They might not rack up the best record, but if they get the right matchups, they could make a serious run. I think they've got a better chance at a deep playoff push than a team like the Atlanta Dream, even if the Dream might win more regular season games. But are they better than the New York Liberty? Probably not. That's still a tough matchup. Same goes for teams like the Lynx, who are better than people realize, and even the Sky, who can exploit Indiana's lack of size. This is a very matchup-dependent team. If they match up well, they can beat almost anyone. If they don't, they're vulnerable, even against weaker teams on paper. And that's been the story with the Fever for the past couple of seasons. Looking ahead, a lot is going to depend on what we see stylistically. If this turns into a everyone is a point guard offense with random players initiating instead of Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, then yeah, that's a problem. Because at the end of the day, when Clark and Boston are on the floor, every creation decision should run through them, not someone else. Not random possessions being initiated by role players. That's bad offense. The last thing you want is situations where Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Mitchell are just standing in the corner while someone else runs the offense. That cannot happen. And that's honestly my biggest concern with Stephanie White. I think she's a very good coach, especially in terms of adjustments, game planning, and in-game reactions. But I don't know if her system fits this roster. And weirdly, part of why they succeeded late last season might be because she didn't fully implement her system. She adapted instead. It reminds me of Jesse Marsh at Leeds. Came in, adjusted, survived, did a great job. But once he fully implemented his system, teams figured out quickly and things fell apart. That's the concern here. Now, I could be completely wrong. I hope I am. But until we see it, there's going to be that doubt. Anyway, we'll see how it plays out.